On 19th January, UAE President Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed Al-Nahyan touched down in New Delhi for a brisk 3-hour engagement with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The frequency of their contacts and their familiarity with each other showed in the manner in which Prime Minister Modi personally received President Sheikh Mohammed at the airport. The warmth was on full display as the two leaders hugged each other and took the by now customary car ride from the airport to the venue of their talks. It was Sheikh Mohammed's 5th visit to India in the last 10 years and his 3rd official visit to India as a president of the Emirates. The joint statement issued towards the end of their talks highlighted the importance of strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy means a country's ability to make independent foreign and security policies based on its national interests. Now, this phrase, strategic autonomy, is so being talked about in today's increasingly polarized and somewhat volatile world that you think that it will frequently be contained in diplomatic documents. But you'd be surprised to know that the phrase strategic autonomy is contained in India's joint statements with only a handful of countries, such as France. That is important, and we'll talk more on that in just a bit. But coming back to India and the UAE, the two countries signed 5 pacts and made 7 announcements, including a long-term agreement for the purchase of 0.5 million metric tons per annum of liquefied natural gas from the UAE over a period of 10 years starting 2028. Joint development of a special investment region at Dholera in India's Gujarat state to build key strategic infrastructure such as an international airport, a pilot training school, a maintenance, repair and overhaul facility, a greenfield port, a smart urban township, railway connectivity and energy infrastructure. Civil nuclear energy cooperation by making use of a new Indian law to develop and deploy large nuclear reactors and small modular reactors. And the possibility of setting up digital embassies under mutually recognized sovereignty agreements. Now, this is a relatively new entrant into the discourse. Now, having a digital embassy allows a country to extend its sovereign digital infrastructure beyond its own borders while maintaining control over the data. Think of it as a computer network that you install in a foreign country in order to safely store vital data while retaining sovereign ownership of it. But, and this is important, it was something else that most caught the attention of the world. The India-UAE joint statement read, and I quote, "They acknowledge steady and strong bilateral defense and security cooperation as a core pillar of the comprehensive strategic partnership. They welcome the momentum generated by the recent exchange of visits by the respective service chiefs and commanders of the Army, Navy and Air Force of both countries and the successful conduct of bilateral military exercises. They welcome the signing of letter of intent towards the conclusion of a strategic defense partnership," unquote. The last bit attracted wide media coverage. Now, in a changing world, the India-UAE strategic defense partnership signals a shift to a more institutional framework of security cooperation. It builds on recent chief-level visits and joint exercises between the two countries.
Almost a year ago, the UAE Defense Minister and the Crown Prince of Dubai, who was on this visit, by the way, he had visited India. This was a watershed moment in our bilateral defense cooperation. We then elevated the institutional framework of defense dialogue between the two countries to the level of secretaries, vice ministers between the two countries. Our air assets have been regularly participating in the Dubai Air Show. There have been last year alone, if I recall correctly, 3 service chiefs from the UAE have visited India. Our own Army chief was in the UAE not too long ago, I think just earlier this month.
So what will this new strategic defense partnership entail? Let me break it down for you. New Delhi says it will work together with Abu Dhabi to establish a framework agreement and expand defense cooperation across a number of areas, including defense industrial collaboration.
Signed today to work on concluding a framework agreement for strategic defense partnership in order to expand the existing bilateral defense cooperation across a number of areas. And the idea would be to see what else it is that we can do. For instance, we plan to look at defense industrial cooperation, defense innovation, partnerships in advanced technology in the area of defense, as well as expanding the linkages on training, on education, perhaps training between the special forces of the two countries, look at defense threats in the cyberspace domain, counterterrorism, which is an area of interest for both countries. So I would really characterize it as a natural evolution from the already considerable defense cooperation between the two countries.
In other words, expect a comprehensive agreement covering defense industrial tie-ups, such as co-producing weapons and technologies. Think more exercises and more intelligence sharing, all aimed at making their militaries more in sync and resilient. Now, the timing of this announcement is important for a number of reasons. For one, it takes place in the midst of a geopolitical flux sweeping large parts of the world. And therefore, it gives India and the UAE an opportunity to strengthen their strategic autonomy. Here's something worth remembering. Abu Dhabi, much like New Delhi, swears by strategic autonomy. As an article published by the Abu Dhabi-based The National newspaper reads, in a fragmented world, strategic autonomy is the UAE's North Star. It reads, for middle powers, it offers a pathway to reduce polarization, resist zero-sum competition, and expand the space for cooperation in an increasingly divided international system. 2, it allows the UAE and India to build on recent milestones such as the 2022 Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the 2023 launch of the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or the margins of the G20 summit in New Delhi. So in a sense, the proposed strategic defense partnership is all about seizing momentum amid global uncertainty to lock in mutual gains. But it is important for one other reason. The headline of an article published by The New Arab, a London-based pan-Arab news outlet owned by a Qatar-based company, says it all. UAE deepens military ties with India as Saudi rivalry heats up. Here's what you should know. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are competing for influence in Yemen and are backing opposing sides in Sudan's civil war. Recently, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia forged a security alliance with nuclear-armed Pakistan. Now, Turkey says it is keen to join the Saudi Arabia-Pakistan Mutual Defense Pact, turning it into what is billed as an Islamic NATO. Andreas Krieg, an associate professor at King's College London School of Security Studies, tells the New Arab that the letter of intent on the strategic defense partnership with India allows the UAE to diversify its strategic ties. Krieg says that the net effect is to widen the UAE's strategic options and complicate Saudi Arabia's ability to shape South Asian alignments through Pakistan alone without necessarily pushing the Gulf into a hardened two-camp structure. The publication quotes another analyst, Alex Jalil, as saying that the UAE is building overlapping security alignments with Israel, Ethiopia, and now India that reinforce its influence from the Horn of Africa to the Indo-Pacific. What it signals is that the UAE now views India as a primary partner for maritime security and defense industrial innovation in the Indian Ocean region, moving beyond traditional Western allies. At the same time, it strengthens India's footprint in the Gulf without formal alliance obligations or involvement in regional conflicts, a point that was made by Foreign Secretary Misri. So as we wrap this segment up, the Emirati leader's visit to India was a high-stakes whirlwind tour that packed a punch in strengthening one of Asia's most dynamic partnerships. It was laser-focused on elevating the India-Emirates Comprehensive Strategic Partnership to new heights. The agreement on strategic defense partnership positions the UAE as a key regional ally for India's security and economic growth, while anchoring India as an influential stakeholder in the evolving strategic landscape of the Gulf.